We also played Star Wars Outer Rim, which I thoroughly enjoyed and was, one of the games I was a little bit more wary of because you know how I am about Star Wars stuff these days. Respect the lore, but it was a great game. That was a really well put together game. Also, Davis, what did you think about it?
Biggest surprise of the weekend for me. I was not expecting much, and I loved it. It was an absolute joy. I love the characters. We all kind of had our own strategy that we had to play by.
You were Lando.
I was Lando, so I had to be a lot more.
You were a suave businessman.
Yeah, suave. I had to win at some sabacc games. I had to do a lot of cargo drops. Just making alliances was like Lando's thing. So that was a really cool aspect that everybody really had a distinct strategy to play around, and that the board was kind of playing against you too with the
patrols and stuff,
the scouts and the patrols from each faction. And so there's a lot of different elements to it. And I didn't think it was that hard of a game once we played around. I was like, oh, this is like, I know what to do now, but it's still like trying to figure out the best strategy. And
yeah, I know you guys watched a YouTube video on how to play. I was busy putting together that Titanic episode that was the Best Damn Nerd Show best of while you guys were watching that. But market, I really did appreciate the distinct like ways to earn victory points, which in the game they call fame, because Mark and I played bounty hunters. Mark was Bosk, I was Boba Fett, and so our whole thing is getting jobs. The best jobs for us are bounties and capturing bounties and either disintegrating them or delivering them for more money, and that's how you gain fame. And so like the very distinct ways of earning fame / victory points, whatever you want to call it, was really cool to me. Like Jeff was Han Solo and his whole thing was smuggling, and you can buy ships. Like Han Solo isn't guaranteed to end up in the Millennium Falcon. Like Mark as Bosk could have gotten the Millennium Falcon, but with him having it, it really made him essentially an unstoppable smuggler. And I really enjoyed how each character was built and just the different ways that you could do things. The missions were really cool. Like honestly, one of the highlights of the whole board game experience of the week for me was drawing the contact token and seeing that freaking Grand Admiral Thrawn was in the game and that he had a mission for Boba Fett to go on. And I'd like that made me super stoked. Mark, what'd you think of the game?
I loved how widespread the lore in Star Wars universe was, that there was characters from TV shows, from books, from the movies, a lot of characters from the old movies, like Boshek was in it as one of the possible contacts. You had Dengar in there. You had Hera from Rebels. All of that tickles my fancy. The fact that Bosk is a playable character, and I love Bosk. And I
knew you'd play Bosk too. I knew you'd be Bosk. I know my guys.
Yeah, and as far as like the different strategies goes, I just went as a bruiser. Like, yeah, I was a bounty hunter, but I got most of my fame just by beating up on other things instead of actually collecting bounties. Like, I think I pillaged at least 3 fame tokens from Chris.
Oh,
lured him into my trap.
I was so close to winning at the end, and Mark just pounded me for 3 straight rounds to where I just had to I got KO'd, and it takes you everything to get back up, and you can only do one thing. I was so mad.
Mark was
so frustrated.
The Lord of combat for sure. Like you were an unstoppable force.
And I was the weakest character, so I'm like, this is just.
You had Chewie though to defend you. You know,
at the end, yeah.
You're really and I appreciate it because it was all like we were all right there at the end. I think we were all like within a victory point or two of each other.
Yeah. I just liked how much customization was in there, because not only do you have your ship and your character, but you're adding on gear, you're adding on mods. When you collect people in your crew, they add multipliers. And so everything I got basically leveled up my combat abilities and weakened my opponents by taking away battle dice and things like that. And so I just started becoming just a big bruiser, and it made it really fun.
Yeah, I absolutely would love to play that game again. That was tremendous.
I think my favorite part while we played was James got a bounty on a guy that was in his crew.
In my crew.
And he had to turn on him in the ship. And I think you got the first one. Then it happened to you again, right, with Rito?
Well, so in order to win the game, like it was all super close. And I kind of I was caught between a rock and a hard place. I had to sort of throw one of two Hail Marys to try and get the necessary points. And yeah, one of them was there was a bounty on Greedo. Greedo was a part of my crew, and probably the best part of my crew, to be honest with you. He had a really good ability. And so, yeah, I took the bounty on him. And the way the game works is the player to your left rolls like the opposition dice. So Mark was just beating me up as Greedo, though. Like it took me like 3 or 4 attempts to capture him and finally or disintegrate him. And finally put it away. But that was, that's a cool dynamic. The fact that you can get bounties on your own crew members, or in something that I would have liked to, maybe experience the next game is if like Davis, if you had Chewbacca and I still had that bounty on him, then I could come try and collect that bounty by interacting with you and your ship and stuff like that. So that's something that we didn't see play out in that game, but definitely in future playthroughs. That was, the surprise hit, I think, of the weekend for me as well. And we got to take a break, but shout out Rock Paper Wizards as well. I'm going to be purchasing that one. It's, based on D&D wizard spells, and it's just, you're just throwing up hand signals, and it's a great social party game that was super fun to play, and I'm definitely gonna, I think, pick up a copy for myself.